Marvel Studios is dropping Jonathan Majors from future productions after he was found guilty of assaulting his then-girlfriend. A New York jury convicted the actor of misdemeanor assault and harassment, acquitting him of different assault and harassment charges. Senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky has the latest.
Not every version of me was so pure of heart.
Actor Jonathan Majors' ascent in Hollywood halted as he awaits sentencing. ABC News parent company Disney saying Marvel is no longer moving forward with Majors after a jury found him guilty of domestic violence.
Jonathan, how do you feel right now?
Majors convicted of 2 misdemeanors for recklessly assaulting his then-girlfriend, Grace Jabbari, in March, fracturing her finger and leaving her ear bloody. He was acquitted of assaulting her intentionally.
What happened exactly? Do you know?
No, I don't know. But she's unconscious.
Majors called 911 hours after the assault.
She's my ex-partner. We broke up.
Finding Jabbari on a closet floor in their apartment, as seen in body camera footage from responding police officers. Hours earlier, Jabbari testified she and Majors had been riding home in an SUV when he received a flirtatious text from another woman. Jabbari said she snatched the phone, and Majors tried to pry it out of her fingers and twisted her arm before she felt a really hard blow across my head. Surveillance video showed Majors hopping out of the car, followed by Jabbari. Majors then seen lifting her up and throwing her back inside before running off, Jabbari chasing after him. Majors' team insisted Jabbari attacked him, but said, "We are grateful the jury found Majors did not intentionally cause any injuries to her." Prosecutors said the assault was the culmination of a manipulative pattern of abuse. Jurors saw text messages that suggested Majors tried to dissuade Jabbari from seeking treatment at a hospital for a head injury from a prior incident between them. And they heard a recording of Majors scolding Jabbari.
"How dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace of our house?"
And instructing her to behave like Michelle Obama and Coretta Scott King.
"I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world. That is actually the position I'm in. The woman that supports me needs to be a great woman."
Jabbari's attorney said in a statement justice was finally served.
And senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky joins me now for more on this, along with ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer and ABC News contributor and ESPN's Anscape senior entertainment reporter Kelly Carter. Aaron, I want to start with you because you were there. So Jonathan Majors now faces up to a year in prison. Having been in the courtroom, what part of this case do you think had the biggest impact?
Always a fool's errand to guess a jury, and we did not hear from jurors afterwards. But I think there were a couple of things. One, the harassment charge had to do with what happened outside the SUV. Never mind what happened inside the car, but outside the SUV, they saw Jonathan Majors hoist up Grace Jabbari, shove her back in the car. He runs off, and then he pushes her away as she gives chase. So the harassment seemed evident to the jury. The other things, and this is only a guess based on watching the jury watch the evidence, they heard the testimony of Grace Jabbari about prior incidents in their relationship. The time he berated her for bringing up an ex-boyfriend's dog, the time he threw a candle at her head and they saw the picture of the aftermath shattered on the floor, the time that he told her to behave like Coretta Scott King and Michelle Obama, the time in 2022, and the text messages show it, where they had some altercation, she had a head injury, and he urged her not to seek treatment at the hospital because of what it would mean for him. The implication of all of those prior acts is that he was just a bad guy, and if any juror had doubt about the specific assault at issue, maybe they said, he's got a history.
Brian, that said, they didn't find him guilty of intentional assault or aggravated harassment. What do you make of this mixed verdict? And what are the chances he actually does time here?
So I'll answer that backwards. He's not going to do time. I have to say, as an attorney, he's being convicted of reckless assault, Class A misdemeanor, up to a year in prison. But you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone with no criminal conviction doing any amount of jail time as a first offender for misdemeanor assault. In terms of the actual mixed bag of the verdict, it's perplexing to me to some extent, but they obviously believe that he was reckless in the way that he harmed Grace Jabbari, which I would ask the question, how should you then take property of your own from a person who takes it from you without being reckless? They obviously found an answer to that, and the harassment, as you're saying, came from outside. But you bring up a great point, Aaron. If all of that information kind of pushed him towards, well, this is a bad guy, and helped him make that conclusion, that sounds like a great argument for appeal, because you cannot say the propensity of a person led to a conviction. There might be a solid appeal coming down the line.
Well, I want to talk more about that in a second, but Kelly, I also want to talk about the aftermath here, because just hours after this verdict was announced, Marvel, which is owned by our parent company, Disney, dropped Majors from future productions as the Marvel villain Kang. So how big of a deal is this for him, and how do you think this might have a lasting impact on his career and his public image?
Oh, it was colossal that Marvel dropped, Jonathan, from future projects. Colossal. We're talking about the most successful film franchise of all times, the most visible project that he's been a part of, and quite frankly, a dream job for any actor in this town. And so I think that it's going to have this kind of major ripple effect throughout Hollywood when it comes to the future of what we expect, him to turn in as an actor. I mean, so much of it is let's wait and see how other studios respond. But this was pretty major.
Brian, I want to go back to what you mentioned about appeal, because Major's lawyer actually said, this is a quote, "Major still has faith in the process and looks forward to fully clearing his name." So what legal recourse does he still have at this point, and what kind of a precedent do you think this case sets?
So appeals are very difficult. It's a Hail Mary and then some, but typically you're looking at mistakes by the defense, the prosecution, or the judge, and either the admission of evidence or the removal of it, the incorrect maybe jury instructions, or ineffective assistance of counsel. So when Aaron brings up the prior bad acts, if the defense says, hey, it seems like the jury was swayed by the prior bad acts and not the actual evidence against him, that's improper. That could be an appellate issue. In terms of going forward, at least in the attorneys who speak to me and the people who bother me all the time, not bother because I welcome it, say, Brian, what does this mean? So what happens if...
I'm one of the people who bothers you all the time, by the way.
And I love it. The question comes up, Brian, if my girlfriend takes my phone, what am I allowed to do? Based on this, now I would say it's her phone. Because if you're reckless in harming her, that's a conviction. Typically, we would say that the law allows everyone to use a reasonable amount of force to take back their property, but according to the Manhattan DA's office, you can't. Like, what Jonathan Majors did was reckless, even though he took the phone and ran away. So we have to find out what is the line.
But why didn't they raise that argument at trial? Why did they say she made up the allegations, that this was a racist prosecution, and that she was just out for revenge and spying?
We've talked about this because they didn't hire Brian Buckmeyer. we discussed this many times.
All right, well, it sounds like he might have an appeal attorney if he needs one. Aaron, Brian, thank you. And Aaron, before we go, I just want to quickly ask you, what's next here now? So
he's going to be sentenced on February 6th, pending any kind of appellate motion. We'll see if that date adjusts. But he is, as Brian notes, facing up to a year in prison. In all likelihood, as a first-time offender, as Brian notes, he's unlikely to face any prison time. Grace Jabari's attorney said justice has finally been served.
All right, Aaron, Brian, Kelly, thank you all. Much appreciated.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.